If you struggle to prioritize me time without feeling guilty or selfish, or you want to hold a whole new set of standards for yourself when it comes to self care, nourishing you, nourishing your dreams, then stay tuned because what I share with you in this episode has the power to totally transform your life. Welcome to the Bliss Movement, a podcast for big-hearted, driven women daring to be great who know that this starts by pouring love into themselves first. I'm Dr. Fee. I'm passionate about helping women to stop tuning out and burning out, but to tune within, reconnect with your heart, feel lit up, follow your bliss, and live life on your terms. So, get ready to expand your life beyond what you thought was possible when it comes to healing, wealth, love, purpose, and leadership. I am so excited by today's episode because this is such an important topic no matter where you're at in your burnout recovery, whether you're in the depth of burnout or you've made some gains, or perhaps you just want more success and wealth, but with greater ease and flow and actually being able to enjoy it. And this has been a classroom that I've been in for most of my life, and I will continue to keep focused on this one because it can be a little sneaky. And of course, supporting hundreds of women getting out of burnout to claim a life that they love. This is a conversation that we have regularly. So I invite you to really stay tuned and ensure like what I'm sharing with you is going to be different to the standard advice that you get out there, which is like, you just need to prioritize me time and ensure that you have like non-negotiable time set in your calendar and put those boundaries in place with work and, ensure that you switch it off and walk away. All of this is wonderful, except, we are smart, intelligent women. We're often very solution focused. We're the fix-it gal. Everyone comes to us, but we can still trip ourselves up and find that no matter how much we desire or we know on a logical level, there's something like gets in the way where we end up wobbling on our boundaries or we're wavering in our conviction as to the new standards that we hold for ourselves. And as soon as that happens, then we can find ourselves sort of like, spiraling backwards into this all or nothing response when it comes to taking really good care of ourselves in a meaningful way. And so this is a conversation which is more than just, hey, you need to schedule in acts of self-love and put boundaries in place. For me, I've had this experience, and I share this a lot in my Burnout to Bliss process as a teaching example of how the difference between making a logical decision to prioritize self-care and what is really required, which is an emotional decision. And I used to struggle even when it came to watching a movie. I was brought up on a farm where we were just in and helping all the time. And to be honest, there was a part of this fear of like ever being found out that you weren't doing something. So we we got good at always looking busy and always staying busy and always helping. And so for me, like just giving me myself that opportunity to rest and watch a movie created such a level of angst. And what I would notice is that I'd often multitask. Like, okay, I could sit down and watch a movie, but let me fold the washing. I could sit down and watch a movie, but I'll have my work laptop open and I'll kind of, check my Facebook and respond to clients and do these, do other things to justify giving myself this time just to watch a movie. And even if I was like, okay, no, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to watch this movie, without a doubt, this level of anxiety and angst and like this sense of like, once it's over, I would just feel like, what a waste of time. Like that movie wasn't even that good. And the reason is because I didn't know how to give myself full emotional, permission to be emotionally there, invested in that so that I could truly relax. Right. And truly enjoy watching a movie and in the end, feeling a sense of connection or enjoyment or laughter or lightness that can come from that. And so that may not be you. You may not be as crazy as me, but, for me, it applies still in my life. I've just recently, been enjoying the most beautiful spiritual. Each year we have a spiritual tradition in my community where we, for 9 days, really withdraw from life. It's a big pattern interrupt where we switch off social media, we switch off television and screens, and we don't socialize outside of our family, and really focus on nourishing and nurturing practices and devotional practices, and really connecting to our spiritual faith. And it's so, so beautiful. And every year it comes, and I always say, this is my favorite time of the year. But even this time, I just found a sense of like guilt, like, oh, and questioning, like, can I really justify spending this time out of my business, out of life right now, And so it's something that we have to, or we get to watch and meet, because if we don't, it then can compound and become a real hot mess. So let's have a look at that. So as I'm hopefully it's coming through clear, this is not just about making a decision to prioritize me time, but really about honoring our emotional nature and our feelings and how we relate to ourselves, how we really give ourselves that permission to rest, to nurture, to receive support, to actually pour love into ourselves and feel differently. And for me, it's really been this beautiful process of acknowledging that I have emotional needs and I have an emotional nature. And so for many, many years, being stuck in my head, very driven, high achieving, high performing, I was felt quite disconnected to my heart and would push down my feelings. And so while I might feel guilty initially or selfish, what I noticed is if I didn't feel that, it would then spiral into another level of angst and discomfort. So if you could imagine, and I use this analogy all the time because I love it. So if you can imagine our emotions are like, the beautiful coloring in pencil sets that we have as children. And I've got young children now, so I get to still play with it. But, you might have 5 different shades of gray, 5 different shades of brown, and yellows and greens and blues. And so if you can imagine, that is our emotional spectrum, okay? And we will have different shades of shame and guilt, and they all sort of intermingle with each other down in that end. And same with happiness and steps of courage. It's like, you can imagine that what we want to be able to experience is our full emotional scale, but actually through our conditioning and the way that we're brought up, societal and family and culturally conditioned, we disconnect from our emotions and we say, I don't want to really feel anything negative, especially I don't like feeling guilty. I don't like feeling selfish. And so we try to dismiss it. And then what can happen is that guilt, which is like a sense of, I feel incongruent to a value, is it then can spiral into shame. And shame is where we come forward with these sort of rules about ourselves. Oh gosh, I'm lazy. That was my shame that I would feel after watching a movie, right? It's like, I'm lazy, or, oh gosh, I'm so not deserving or worthy of this, or I'm such a bad person. And if you don't actually meet your emotions right at the start, so emotions aren't bad. Like, these are our signals. These are messengers that help us to stay on track at that level. But if we don't know how to meet ourselves emotionally and really honor this as a feedback, it then compounds and it can then spiral into shame. And then, oh my gosh, we start feeling frustrated with ourselves. And then we might react and we might bark at our kids. And then we see the look of pain wash across their face. And then we feel, even more dreadful, more heartbroken. And so we spiral. And all of a sudden, it's like we're adding all these colors in, like a little bit too much red and a little bit too much blue and a little bit too much green and a bit of yellow, and it becomes brown. And that is where we sit. And we just like, oh my gosh, what a brown mess this experience is. And we don't want to feel that. So we escape and we numb out and we sabotage ourselves by drinking too much, endless scrolling, watching Netflix, or staying really, really busy. Staying busy because we want to just keep tuning out. I don't want to tune in because it feels icky and it's a bit brown and it's a bit disgusting. So I hear you. And the only way through it is truly by acknowledging that we get to work with our emotional nature. It wins for better or worse. And this is your experience. If you are highly functioning, high achiever, driven, ambitious, big-hearted, like, you will have experience in your life, even though you know better, you find yourself tripping yourself up, I know I get to prioritize me time. I know I get to implement that boundary after work and not work after 5 p.m. I know that I get to switch off. It's best for productivity and ensuring that I enjoy my career. It's best that I actually not work on the weekends so that I don't feel completely depleted. I get that I need creative time. I get that I need connection time. I get that what's most important to me is to feel incredible and loved and focusing on what's most important to me. But yet we trip ourselves up and get caught in the hustle and the grind and the hard work and effort and end up feeling really, really depleted and a real mess. And so it's important. So the first is recognizing that we get to tune in to our emotional nature and really learn how to feel our feelings and so that we break that spiral into the brown, into the compound emotions, into this emotional mess. If we really tap into our heart and really know what is it that I need, and this is some feedback, and I get to hold myself and really, for me, like I had to sit on the couch, giving myself space and just acknowledging and giving myself permission, I get to rest. Like that is honestly what I had to do. And it's like really transforming how I relate to self-care and giving myself permission to pour love, like profound love into myself. And there's a level of certainty that we need in this, which is that actually then supports everyone and everything. And this is the beautiful thing about being a part of a community. My Expanding Bliss sisters, they get to see from each other how that is true. There's a depth of, like, we can piggyback each other's experience and be like certainty from, gain certainty from other people's experience of when, like, we're celebrating, oh my gosh, actually, as I've been taking better care of myself, I'm now seeing my kids smiling, their behavior has transformed, they're happy and relaxed. My relationship with my boss is completely transformed. He's coming to me with new opportunities and promotions and great things. And it's like, wow, we get to really, really relax into that knowing and that truth that as we honor ourselves, truly everything does transform around us. Now, one of the things that I made mention to why this might feel extremely difficult is because we have different values within us that are actually competing. Now, this is really mind-blowing when you can get it. So I really hope that you can understand and appreciate that at any time you might have different values, such as you might have a value like family first. It's really important that I'm there for my kids. It's really important to me that I'm a fun, loving mum. So that could be one of your values. And at the same time, you might have a value which is prioritizing me and pouring love into myself and ensuring I've got a full heart. On one level, there's no problem between these values. But on another level, if you haven't unified these, meaning this one supports that one, that they both work together, figuring out how they both support each other, they will battle. You might come to a situation where you need to make a decision. Do I actually say yes and prioritize myself, like meaning step away from the family, have an afternoon off, or, spend some time to do some inner work or do some meditation? Or is this the time that I should, play some card games with my kids or bounce on the trampoline or support them with their school project? And we're faced with these decisions all of the time. And if we're not super clear on how, honoring myself and pouring love into myself first really, really supports how I show up as a mum, then you'll find that you will dismiss that value of, prioritizing me is important, just to keep being there and honoring that value of family first, family first, family first, family first. And so what happens if that's split and that's not unified, you end up splitting your energy. Meaning, like when there's a part of you that becomes resentful because it's important to you that you actually take care of yourself. It's a value of yours. You really, really know that on a deep level, this is essential. It's a value of yours to really nurture and nourish you. But it's also when you're with your kids, so you're feeling resentment that you're not withdrawing, that you haven't had me time, that you're not stepping away. But if you do step away, then because you haven't actually unified this value, you're now looking at it and going, oh my gosh, you know what? I feel so bad. I feel so guilty. I feel so selfish because really, a value of mine is that I'm always there for the kids. A value of mine is that I show up as a happy, fun mum every day, you know? And so as you can see, you're just having this internal battle because you haven't gone through this process of integration, of clarity as to your values and certainty that I get to take care of myself first so that then I have more to give my family or my career or my partnership. And so this is where we get caught amongst the tsunami wave of emotions and pain and discomfort and this sense of just like, honestly, you'll feel it. They're splitting your energy. It's like if you're at work, you're finding yourself thinking about your family and how you're missing out on that. And you're not, really feeling like a failure at home. And when you're at home, you're probably splitting your energy and feeling like you should be doing more work and you're unable to switch off, unable to really be present. And so as you can see, these are the deeper factors at play when it comes to actually prioritizing me time. It's more than just saying, okay, I'm going to walk away from work tonight and I'm going to switch off, or I'm going to put a boundary in place to ensure I have my weekends free. And I'm going to ensure that I spend some time each week taking care of myself in a meaningful way. You can say these things, but whether or not it's actually heard and understood is two different things. And a really great example for this, just to reinforce why this deeper inner work is so important, is like if you have kids, now kids are just they're are incredible teachers. As a mum, there'll be times when my kids will be like, hey, mum, can we have an ice cream? Now, I might have a rule that we don't have sweets during the week, right? And I have that rule that's sometimes food. And so it means that we'll often prioritize it for the weekend, not for the week. Then if they ask me and I might be like, oh, you know what? Ice cream would be really nice. Now, if I have that thought or I'm a little wavering in my boundary or my commitment to that boundary, my kids know. Honestly, they know, and they'll ask me and they'll ask me and they'll ask me. And until a point I'm like, okay, I really am going to implement this firm boundary. Like no means no. Or if I'm just like solid and I'm like, I don't feel like ice cream and it's the weekdays. So sometimes food is for the weekend. And so no, we don't have ice cream tonight. And I just replied to them, no, we're not having ice cream tonight. They can feel the difference and they will just drop it and move on. And I'm going to invite you to explore this because this is the difference between just the words we say when we come to a boundary. And often a lot of us are like, oh, I just have to put a boundary in place. You have to put a boundary in place that sticks. And what supports that boundary in sticking, meaning it's heard, it's understood, it's valued, it's respected, is actually the energy or the standards you hold in the implementation of that, how unwavering you are, how unshakable your conviction confidence is, how you feel worthy or enough to actually hold this new standard. That's really, really important. And that can be felt from your partner. It can be felt from your work colleagues. It's not just about you and your kids, but it's a great example. And I invite you to play with it or be curious in cultivating awareness of when you say no, how do you feel in yourself? Do you feel strong? Or do you feel wavering? Do you waver on your commitment and conviction to that standard? So I really hope that this has helped you to understand that there is more that we can really honor and do for ourselves when it comes to prioritizing me time, and that guilt and selfishness is not wrong. It's feedback to say, oh, there's something bigger at play here. It's how I relate to myself, a sense of worthiness, a sense of self-love and compassion, ability to really honor who I am and what my needs are. And this is the process of empowerment. Empowerment is about knowing who we are and acknowledging that actually I do have needs, non-negotiable needs. These are needs that I cannot dismiss. These are not wants, they're needs. Can I say it any clearer? And so we get to give that to ourselves in a really meaningful way. And this is security and certainty and comfort and trust and acceptance and nourishment. Like these are needs for us to feel full. It's not about the things we do. It's actually about how we truly honor that within us so that we have a heart full. Because honestly, if we don't get that, we'll do all this self-care, but never feel really rested, The calm will not be long lasting, and we'll just have this sense of like it becoming transactional. It's like adding more self-care to your to-do list. It becomes a chore, like a burden in the end, versus a tool to actually transform how you feel in life. And when you feel differently, that sets you up to make different decisions and to take different actions. And that's the momentum that really is so incredible to watch and witness in my clients. This is where they really step into their power, feel empowered, make better choices for themselves. And in turn, it's like we get to live in this state of acknowledgement of what's good for me is good for you, is good for the world. And it's this beautiful process of like pouring love into myself first in a way that just feels so nourishing because, I've really met those deeper issues at play, those barriers that would trip me up, or that disconnection and like being stuck in the head and disconnected from my heart, really address that. So I feel so good in whatever I choose to do for myself, the acts of self-love, the self-care. And that with that, then you get to see, oh my gosh, my children flourish. I promise you, they do. They feed off us. They will flourish and your career will take off and you'll really open yourself up to a whole new existence and reality. Sending you all so much love. Thank you so much. If you love this episode, please ensure that you subscribe, leave a review, and I thank you for sharing this with anyone that you love. Take care. It has been so beautiful spending this time with you. If you found today's episode inspiring or helpful, please subscribe, give us a good review, and share the love. I invite you to be a part of the Bliss movement. Join our Bliss Sisterhood or apply to join my Expanding Bliss program. The links are in my bio, and I cannot wait to be doing live with you soon. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'll be sharing more training, stories, strategies, and solutions to guide you towards your bliss.